All right, thank you for sticking with us here on Fox Local on what's been a busy weather day. Now, we are in that time that I've been calling the in-between time. We are still waiting for the Norway game. We're getting a little close here at the end to wrap on up on Fox 5, and then we're going to bring you your local news here. But I got a little while, so I'm going to talk to you about a little weather. So we're calling it Thomas's Talking Time, because I get to talk to you about all the weather events of today and the weather events that could happen this week. Ha-ha! All right, let's get it started. Look, today, probably the busiest weather day of this week. Honestly, one of the busier weather days of this year so far in terms of severe thunderstorms in the D.C. region. We had a number of them. We did have a number of reports of damage done, too, from these storms as they went across, particularly in parts of Virginia. Parts of the eastern shore, too, got hit pretty hard once these storms made it across the bay. Big picture showing you a widespread storm system. It's a frontal boundary with multiple waves of low pressure that are riding along it. One came by today. That helped power the storms that went on through. But the front itself still back out to the west, and there's another wave of low pressure down to the south that's going to ride along it tomorrow. Now, thankfully, and I'll explain this more when I show you Futurecast, for that one tomorrow, we should be on the northern half of it. And on that side, you don't get severe weather. You generally just get rainfall here. Not going to be the prettiest first half of the day tomorrow, but it shouldn't be quite as violent as some of those storms that came through later this afternoon. Now, not the case for everybody. Folks who end up south and east, we divide storms into quadrants. If you end up in the southeastern quadrant of a wave of low pressure, that's where you typically find your severe weather. And some folks across eastern portions of Virginia, perhaps the lower eastern shore, could find themselves there tomorrow. All depends on its exact track, but most model guidance tonight suggests D.C. area should remain in the what we call the northwest quadrant, which is where weather in terms of severe weather tends to be calm and quiet. Now, if this was wintertime, the northwest quadrant is typically where you find some of your heaviest snowfalls. But another story for a different season. There's satellite and radar right now, and that line right there, one of the stronger ones we've seen during the spring and now early summer season. Pretty strong as it came across southern Maryland, prompted several tornado warnings. If you've been watching most of the evening, you saw us cut in Charles County. Now, we locally don't cover folks to the east of the Chesapeake Bay there. We do in terms of Fox Local, but we don't cut into coverage, as we call it, when tornado warnings go up on the eastern shore. But there were 4 or 5 tornado warnings with this line as it went over to the eastern shore this evening. So it did remain quite strong. And occasionally you get what we call kink in the line rotation. You get multiple cells within the line and they're all kicking out winds at different direction. Occasionally those winds combine. They kind of run into each other. If you've ever been to the ocean, right, you've seen 2 waves when they kind of hit each other right in the middle where they hit. You get kind of this almost a little additional wave, right? Like it's like a little stronger in the middle. Interesting comparison there, I know. But that's generally what the atmosphere is doing. You get winds running into each other and you get this enhancement in the rotation. And that's when you can get those tornado warnings. That's exactly what happened in Charles County. We have not had any confirmed reports that a tornado touched down, but as mentioned before, some damage was done. Eastern Shore tonight's getting what's left of the line. A lot of lightning and thunder with it. You see no boxes on my map here, so no thunderstorm warnings out for this portion of the line anymore, but heavy rains across portions, say, Rehoboth Beach, down towards Bethany Beach, Ocean City, Maryland, right down through portions of the Delmarva there, Chicoteague Island. Still getting some heavy rain, some thunder, and some lightning. But thankfully, again, in terms of severe weather, nothing left from this portion of the line. Not the case farther south. There are a few warnings out near the Virginia Beach, or at least north of Virginia Beach in Norfolk there. Eastern portions of Virginia, just to the east of Williamsburg. Pretty heavy storm there, severe thunderstorm warning. And, fun chance. We never get to explain this on air because I only have a certain amount of time, but I will tell you, you see that banner behind me, which has what these outlines represent. So that purple box there, not something you would typically, I color-coded these myself, and it's mostly so that when I'm on TV, if I'm covering warnings, I can tell you what exactly the National Weather Service is issuing based on what color the box is. So this purple box, that's not an official color that the National Weather Service would put out. This would just be yellow from them, but I have it color-coded purple because that tells me that this warning was issued with the threat of rotation within the storm. So there's a severe thunderstorm warning where they have seen rotation in the storm that indicates a tornado possible, but it's not strong enough rotation to get a tornado warning yet. But that would tell me, if I was local there to Virginia Beach, to the Norfolk area, to make sure I'm keeping an eye on that cell because it could prompt a tornado warning at any minute. So that's what those colors represent. Considerable would be a severe thunderstorm warning that has winds up to 70 miles per hour. Destructive would be severe thunderstorm with winds up to 80. And then, of course, the highest designation that we go with here is if you get that red box, that is that tornado warning. So fun little aside and fun little fact for you. If you're ever watching Fox 5, you see these different color boxes go up. Now you'll know what each one represents. Again, the worst warning on this particular map is that purple one, which just said that they've seen some rotation from time to time in that cluster of storms just to the south of Williamsburg, Virginia. Now, we do have one more kind of batch that we're watching. We're not really expecting severe weather out of it. In fact, it's not even putting out any lightning right now. But right across the I-81 from Hagerstown through Winchester down to about Front Royal, there is this line of showers. Occasionally, I have seen a lightning flash out of that cell just to the south of Winchester, but no indication of any severe weather out of this line here. At one time, it was up in Pennsylvania. This one actually had several tornado warnings get prompted with it. However, it is kind of running into essentially the exhaust from those storms we had here in D.C. earlier, which eat up a lot of the atmosphere. Those storms output eat up a lot of the atmospheric energy, I should say. Those storms output a lot of cool air relative to how hot we were earlier today. And cool air is much heavier and harder for these storms to lift as opposed to like a warm and humid air mass like we had this afternoon. So that's stuff that we continue to, or that will make it harder for these storms to kind of sustain themselves as they push themselves off to the east here. But still, threat for a couple of rumbles of thunder, maybe some rain here. White Post there, about to get a heavy downpour as these cross right over the Blue Ridge there. And we'll continue, or rather approach Blue Ridge right here, where you see that little enhancement on our satellite and radar there. But we'll monitor these, see if they don't make it into western portions of Loudoun County. Some of the model guidance suggested that they might, but at this point, we're not expecting any more severe weather this evening. If you follow us on Twitter or on any of the, I guess it's called X now, but if you follow us on any of the social media platforms, we did talk about this morning how we suspected that the worst of the weather today would kind of be I-95 in areas south and east, and that is exactly what happened here. So you do see all these little bubbles here represent where either very strong wind gusts were reported or the ones that look like, of course, trees snapped in half. That's where wind damage was reported from these storms. And I will tell you what, I'm going to have to stand over here and kind of zoom in on it. But there was a lot of talk about this one right here and these two trees right near Burke, Virginia, where about 5 o'clock this afternoon, there was a thunderstorm kind of parked right on top of them. And a lot of pictures come in of damage, trees kind of almost snapped in half, shingles blown off of roofs even pulled up in little spots, and a lot of chatter that folks here were thinking, man, I think we just got hit with a tornado here in Burke, Virginia. We went back and looked at the radar data. National Weather Service has since gone by and looked at the radar data, and everybody's in agreement that this is not tornado damage. This is straight line wind and very likely what we call either a downburst or a microburst. Depends on the size of it. Probably if it's very localized, it's more of a microburst damage, which means the winds. Essentially what happens, a pool of cold air builds up in the thunderstorm. It comes crashing down to the ground, and when it hits the ground, it spreads out like this. And that that process, if it's hitting the ground and spreading out, like if you dropped a water balloon and it exploded, all the water would go like that, right? That process knocks down trees, knocks down power lines. A lot of times it looks like tornado damage, but it's actually not. It's straight line wind damage. Regardless, damage is damage, and they're certainly cleaning up reports of some power outages there in the Burke, Virginia area. But that is what happened earlier this afternoon with those storms that went on through. So hopefully not seeing anything of that, anything more like that around here for a little while. We'll do some cleanup. 96 did get hotter than expected today, and that's more energy for the atmosphere to work with. So it explains why some of these storms tonight were certainly on the stronger side. Temperatures have dropped back into the 70s. I won't go back to that, but we'll show you. Futurecast here as we head into tomorrow does have some rain showers moving back in. We'll tell you all about it coming up. Fox 5 News at 10.